G'day, I'm Greg Day from This Week in St Kilda. Today we're interviewing the Mayor of Port Phillip, Councillor Marcus Pearl. It's a 15-minute interview with rapid fire questions on lots of curly topics like the St Kilda Festival, childcare, adventure playground, and the staff turnover at council. We've also got some questions from readers. But let's get on to it and hear from Marcus.
Good, Greg. Thanks for agreeing to doing this format. I think hopefully we can make this a regular monthly event. I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
Well, that's good. That's good. We'll see how interesting the audience finds it.
Yeah, probably not very much, but it's always good to have a chat to you anyway, right?
That's good. Now, I'd like to start off with the festival. How do you think the festival went, and what's the feedback been?
It was a very different festival format this year, obviously, over a 9-day period instead of the one big day that we have that usually attracts 420,000 odd people. So, look, it was nice to trial the 9-day format, but the most important thing I think we had to show our community and also the live music industry and also the people we target to get to the St Kilda Festival is that the festival's still very much relevant. It's still very much here, and we're going to be back bigger and better and hopefully back to normal next year. So I think it served its purpose in terms of being able to make an investment into the live music industry. The events we put on were of a high standard. The attendance was probably as expected, not the normal huge event that we obviously had, but it served its purpose, and hopefully we're back to normal next year, bigger and better on the one-day format where we get 400,000 people to St Kilda.
Okay, so I was thinking that maybe you were going to go halfway and say that there are advantages to the smaller because the crowd and the control of alcohol and the amenities seem to be better from my point of view. So what sort of feedback have you had?
We'll go through the review of the event, but anecdotally what people have told me is similar to you. There's parts of it they love, and particularly the traders in certain areas particularly liked having a longer style format. But we do have festivals around the festival also. We've got Yellowcoat Willem, which is a fantastic festival, which actually probably benefited a lot from the longer format with the bigger stage format this year. But the overwhelming, I think, trend and probably advice from the officers when it comes, obviously council needs to make a decision in terms of what its investment is next year and what the format will be. But I think the feedback we've got from residents was that some liked the longer format, others didn't because of the noise impact it was having over a longer period of time. But there's mixed views. We'll listen to all those mixed views and we'll make a good decision next year. But I'm personally hoping we can get back to the more traditional format because I think it has it's an iconic part of St Kilda. It's an intergenerational part of St Kilda, and it's a really important festival.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Well, talking about decisions, last night did you do a decision about the adventure playground and the trampoline?
Well, Councillor Bond, who is very passionate about adventure playgrounds and particularly St Kilda, put up a motion yes on the trampoline. So we'd received some feedback that the trampoline in St Kilda had been temporarily closed. It looked fairly permanent by the structure that was put on top of the hole where the trampoline sits. So Councillor Bonds put up a motion last night to ensure that trampoline is reinstated. Just to be clear also, there's a lot of commentary in the community and a bit of anxiety as well that's coming through to me to say council's not committed to the adventure playground and we're going to close it, etc. That couldn't be further from the truth. There's $2.7 million in the forward budget to renovate the St Kilda Adventure Playground and $1 million to renovate upgrade the South Melbourne Adventure Playground. That's a substantial investment in anyone's book. They're 40 years old. They're looking a bit tired and they need a bit of love. And obviously we're very eager to see if there's any funding solutions out there also.
Okay, that's interesting because I've been contacted by people, and that's not only the trampoline, but the flying fox, the pirate ship, the aeroplane. And I guess if I was to summarise the fear they had, that the money you're going to put in it might actually make it less adventurous. because it would
Yeah,
be
we
more
don't.
sanitised.
It would be sad if we had the standard plastic play equipment put into those environments. That's not, so far as I'm aware, that's not our intention. But there has been a few things removed over the years. All those things haven't been removed in one go, obviously. But as the years have gone by, they're 40 years old. They deteriorate. They're heavily worn through, etc., in terms of the usage of them. So they should be. And council has been, making sure that we balance safety and adventure. But in terms of what's happened with the trampoline, Councillor Bond drew a line last night to make sure that gets put back in its full entirety, which is important. It's an important little piece of equipment there. There's not too many people that can fit trampolines in their backyards or apartment buildings, etc., including myself. And kids should have the opportunity to play on that sort of equipment.
Okay. Also on the decision-making front, the childcare, where we had the rally with every politician in the area turned up at the rally. So what's the consultation period's about to end. What do you think is going to happen after that?
Well, obviously, there was also, Greg, I'm not sure if you're aware, there was a motion put up last night to provide a bit more certainty around particularly the timeline on the project, particularly relating to Eildon Road. So as you might be aware, we've extended the consultation period twice now. There's been a lot of requests of council from parents and the organising committees of the centres, and officers have been as transparent as they possibly can in getting that information out. But it's only fair that we extend the consultation as we provide more information. So that's been extended out, which then has a compounding effect on the timeline that was originally proposed in the motion that council considered in December. So all credit to Councillor Crawford and Councillor Consolo, who put up an amendment to one of the reports last night that's requesting officers to come back with a formal report at the next council meeting with an update on what will happen in terms of the timeline. Officers indicated last night that given the extension of the consultation process, that the sale timeline for at least one of those centres would be recommended to be extended, but we're still waiting for the formal report for that to come through, which will come through at the next meeting. So in answer to your question also, sorry, just I digressed a bit, but in terms of what happens next is there's a vast amount of consultation that's taken place in terms of the submissions we've received. We're going through discussions at the moment with each centre, consultation discussions, which has been externally facilitated. I've attended one of those, and it's been a very fruitful session for both officers and councillors alike. We'll consider that feedback. It'll come back to council, and then it's options and decision time around that. But we complete the consultation process, and then we've also asked officers to go and work with the centres in terms of finding any other solution or any other options that council should be considering also.
Okay, Marcus, also at last night's meeting was the CEO's report for the last quarter. And in it, I always look at the staff turnover figures, where your target is a 10% turnover, but it's 19%. So that's, 1 in 5 leaving in a year. Now, why do you think that is, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, so staff turnover is up in June. So in June, top of my head, I think it's 15% or thereabouts, and it's increased to 18.2% since the June update or thereabouts. There's obviously different types of turnover, but the turnover I look at as a councillor is the voluntary turnover, the ones that are voluntarily leaving the organisation, not those that have retired or those sorts of things. That's sitting at about 17.2%, which is high. I think the industry average, the sector average is about 15 and a half. I could be wrong on that, so please feel free to fact check me on that. But as a former CEO and business person, staff turnover is a big cost. It's a big hidden cost to any organisation. When people leave and we have to recruit more people in, there's a direct cost of that. And then getting people trained and up to speed in the organisation costs financially also. And then there's also the impact on services, etc. So it is a concern. I think that's a realistic thing to be raising. It's something that as Mayor I'll be discussing with the CEO. We've discussed it as councillors in the past, But it is not something that's exclusive to the city of Port Phillip. There's big cultural changes going on in the COVID work world now. It's a very hot market out there in the local government sector in particular. And this council has always been seen as a place of a bit of an incubator for talent to the sector. So we have very high calibre people here who, let's face it, that they get targeted and they get poached by other great organisations. But you're quite right. We need to make sure that our people are happy to work here, and we can attract the best talent we can into the council. And it's something, it's a concerning increase, but it's not necessarily exclusive to the city of Port Phillip. Lots of inner city councils are experiencing exactly the same thing.
Is there any particular topics you'd like to raise?
I think the childcare is the main one at the moment, which it is causing a lot of anxiety for people in the community. And the councillors and I have spent a lot of time in the past few weeks, obviously discussing it on our side, but also getting out there and hearing firsthand what's happening. Through the consultation process we're doing, but also visiting the centres and making sure we're getting across all the details we possibly can, because we understand it's causing anxiety within some of the families, and it's our job as good decision makers to make sure that we're definitely taking that into account and running a process which is fair and equitable. I'm also been really heartened by the support we've had from some of the local politicians. Martin Foley has written to us and also helped us get access to the state minister, which has been most welcome. But also, James Newbury and David Southwick have also been involved, and Josh Burns has been involved also. So there's a multi-level, government dialogue going on. But certainly, we've been encouraged by our recent discussions with the state government, and we hope that those discussions continue and we get to a fruitful outcome.
Okay, well, we also got some questions from readers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very specific. One of them was about the noise from the drummers that happen in St Kilda of an evening that, according to the correspondent, can go till 2 and 3 in the morning. I live in St Kilda too, and I hear them. And it depends which way the wind blows for me. But it's not a particularly big issue for me. But what can council do about organised noise like that?
The first thing is we always try to work with people, they're the event organisers or whoever they may be, to ensure that people understand about the balance we always try to have around local amenity and arts and culture, etc. So we've encouraged them, our council officers have encouraged them, and we've also worked with Victoria Police to see if we encourage them to conclude around the 11 o'clock mark, which we think is, even that's pretty reasonably late. But we think that's the right balance. Some nights they're obviously into the rhythm of it, and it goes well past that, particularly on beautiful weather evenings. I think they meet on Thursday nights, or they used to meet on Thursday nights. So we've been working with Victoria Police to see anything we can do to see if we can encourage these people, and very creative people, to finish around the 11 o'clock mark and then perhaps move on. Enforcement's always the last line of course of action. We want to go down these areas, but we do need to balance the public amenity against, that they do make on, particularly when there's big crowds down there, they make substantial amounts of noise, and some people love that music, other people don't, particularly those that have to get up early for work, etc. So we're working with VicPol. We've been down there and we've spoken to the artists over the years, because this has been going on for some time. We want them there, we want to encourage them there, but we want to balance that against the local community also.
Okay, another email I got from a reader was about traffic noise in West St Kilda, but I want to link that to, notice that you've got a mobile CCTV trailer that you've been using about hoon traffic in Port Melbourne. I wonder if there's any possibility of locating that on occasions in St Kilda to pick up hoon motorbikes.
It's definitely been in St Kilda a fair bit, particularly up on the just out the front of the yacht squadron there. That they've had it there on a few occasions. I've seen it. They're trying to move it around so it's not sort of a fixed in one spot. Just so everyone knows, we've hired a mobile CCTV unit, which we've given to Victoria Police. They control and operate it, which is the right thing to do. And we're paying for it at the moment. But it's been a really good piece of equipment and tool to help with the hooning issue. It has made a very significant impact over the past few months, particularly when it's been placed at Waterfront Place. There was some incidents on particularly the Australia Day Eve night, where we had a huge influx of people with their vehicles and motorbikes, etc., which probably even overwhelmed the police resources that night. So it probably wasn't as effective as we would have liked that night, but there certainly has been a reduction since we've introduced it. In terms of St Kilda West, the question was about noise or traffic movements generally?
Traffic movements.
Yeah, right. So we obviously get motorbike noise complaints there, but I've received a number of requests from local residents in the past 2 weeks about traffic movements, particularly in Cowdrey Street and even Mary Street, etc. It's a very complex issue. What residents are looking for is a full strategy and survey of the local area from Fitzroy Street to Kerford Road, Canterbury, down to the beach, obviously. Now, the 2 petitions have come to council in the past 8 years on this area, and it's fair to say that council officers have had a good look at it, but they've struggled a bit in terms of coming out with traffic solutions that will actually A, solve the problem, but B, not just shift the problem to the next street. So on the basis of the amount of conversations that have come to me in the past few weeks, I asked a question of the officers last night to publicise what they're doing to look at this issue. They're still working on some traffic light movements and potential alterations with Vic roads to make sure we don't get traffic build-ups, particularly around Cowdrey Street. And I've also asked officers to have a look at that. I'm more than happy to come down and meet the local residents with the ward councillors also. So that might be happening in the next few weeks. But it's a complex issue. There's no easy solutions to it, but I completely understand the frustration that the local residents there are feeling.
Okay, Marcus. Well, thanks so much for your time. And maybe it would be a good schedule to do this after the first council meeting of each month.
Thanks, as always, Greg. You're doing a great job, and it's important local information gets out. And please, if anyone's got any questions out there, they can give me a call. Just look for my mobile phone number. But if you Google my name, Marcus Pearl, you'll get my phone number and my email there. You're more than welcome to give me a call anytime.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Have a very good day.
Thanks, Greg.